Hello and welcome to this edition of Your Health, Your Wealth. I'm your host, Patton, and today I want to talk about investing in yourself. Now, too many times as a healthcare provider, when people or patients come in, we're looking for that magic pill. We want that quick fix, that one treatment that a doctor can give you that will just fix it all. And a lot of times, my counseling or my assessment plan and what I think will really help for you really starts with something that you may need to do for yourself, whether it be exercise or changing your diet. And that's what I mean by really investing in yourself. And I think if we all take that time to set aside time to really invest in ourselves, we'll see a tremendous improvement in both our health and our financial standing just by paying attention and taking that time for yourself. This is really self-treatment, and this episode is really towards myself as well because, I often neglect my own self sometimes in taking care of other people. So I thought it's important to revisit this topic and come back and talk about some ways and some different tools to invest in yourself. When we don't get that quick fix, that magic pill that we want to, a lot of times we do self-destructive behaviors. Things like self-medicating with either prescription medications or non-prescription medications. We get upset with our doctor when the treatment that he or she is prescribed hasn't worked. And a lot of times we're looking for that quick, easy fix, but sometimes it may be just a slow grind towards treatment or improvement in both your health and wealth. In our finances, we sometimes do the same things. We're looking for someone to hand us something, where we want a promotion for this reason or that reason to push forward. But sometimes before those in power are looking to promote you, they want to look to see, are you investing in yourself? We're constantly looking for others to invest in us. But a lot of times people are saying, okay, how are you investing in yourself? So we're going to dive into that and talk more about that. So, my big question to you is, how much are we investing in ourselves? How much are you investing in your health, in your wealth? And are we working on ourselves, or are we waiting for others to work on us? And that's a huge difference. And if we do sit back and kind of think about these techniques, think about different ways to really put back into ourselves. And I find this overlap, this conjunction between self-health to be really, really amazing. And a lot of the journey to healing or digging ourselves out of a hole, whether it be depression or a financial bind, it starts with changing your mindset. And with changing your mindset, you start to take actions, and your actions follow your mindset. I have a previous episode where I talked about the benefits of exercise, and that it doesn't take much, just a little bit per day, and getting started as far as exercising. Just start with a little and build on that. But it starts by changing, or first looking at your mindset and saying that, okay, I want to make this change. I want to institute this change, and I want this to become a habit so that it can lead to better future, better health, better wealth moving forward. So even in my own life, when I look back over those dark periods, times when I myself was going through things, I noticed that during those times, I often stopped exercising. I often stopped doing those things that gave me that energy boost, that gave me that positive feeling, that positive reinforcement to myself. And it actually made me feel worse, and things started spiraling more. So I would often have to take time and start investing in myself. say, hey, look, let's get back on track. Whatever it is we're going through, we'll get through it. But we have to we have to have the energy. We have to have the right attitude and the right mindset to overcome whatever this is. And inevitably, things started turning around. So when you're looking at your health, when you're looking at, your wealth, your finances, you have to take a little bit of a selfish attitude and say, look, let me invest in myself first. And when others see you investing in yourself, then they'll start investing in you. Well, you say, how does that play into even finances? Well, pay yourself first. You get paid, and then we go out and we buy things, or we pay bills. We have to take care of those things in life where we pay everyone else, and then at the end of the day or a week or two later, by the time the next check is due, we're like, man, where did it all go? And I don't feel fulfilled. Well, try to do those little things to pay yourself first. And by that, I mean like putting something away every check into some type of interest gaining, either retirement fund or some type of fund that you can put away as a way to say, hey, I'm paying myself first and investing in myself. I'm a big proponent and a big fan of compound interest. And so if you do, and it doesn't have to be a large amount, it could be, $50 or $100 or whatever you can do. And if you just get into that habit every month of paying yourself first, and then that starts compounding on itself, after a couple of years, you'll actually physically see, you'll physically see, the ramifications, or you'll see what you've been doing is now paying off, because that investment that you made in yourself is now growing on itself. And that'll give you positive reinforcement and energy to keep doing it. Take some time and set aside some money every check for things like a manicure, pedicure, massage. Something that you can just relax. It's your money. You earned it. Invest in yourself. Take some time to reinvest in yourself and get something that you want to relax. Like I said, like a massage or a nice manicure or pedicure. So if you invest in yourself, you can maximize your potential. You won't feel so drained all the time because you're investing and putting into others. But now you're taking time and that first fruits of your efforts in your work, you're putting that back into yourself and reinvesting in yourself. And I think over time, that'll have a big impact on your life, your health, and your wealth. Now, I want to kind of do things a little bit different. This episode really was inspired by a book that I recently read. And I finished it several months, maybe even a year ago. But I often go back to it and reflect on some of the teachings. The book is The 5 a.m. Club, and the author is Robin Sharma, Sharma. And a lot of the takeaways that I took away from the 5 a.m. Club, I'm trying to become a member of the 5 a.m. Club, and you'll understand a little bit more about what I mean by that after I tell you a little bit more about the book. But, it's about establishing healthy habits and investing in yourself and getting your day started to make you the most productive person that you can be. So a lot of this episode is one that's directed at myself, but I hope that you can get something out of it and take away some things. Highly recommend the book. I thought it was a really good read. I've read it once all the way through and then reread several other chapters again. And I keep it really close at my desk and go back for references. So thought it'd be good to take a couple of points from the book because it goes back to this topic of investing in yourself. So a little bit of a background about the book without giving too much away, because again, I highly recommend that you do read it. But it's basically about two strangers who both were at a pretty low point in their life. One was an artist, one was a small business owner, and both having a lot of issues finding themselves and different things going on in their profession and health. And so they decided to go to this self-help conference. And there at the conference, they encounter a man who they honestly thought was homeless. He, based on his appearance and his clothes and everything else, thought he was homeless, but he ended up being a millionaire. And then he takes them through a series of travels and lessons and introduces them to what's called the 5 a.m. Club. And so the book is really them going through these lessons and learning about this concept and teaching us the concept to help us in our daily lives and to reinvest in ourselves. The 5 a.m. Club is about optimizing the most consequential hours of your day and they say between 5 and 6, but maybe it's between 6 and 7 for you, but it's called the victory hour. And when I was reading the book, it really dawned on me that I know, when I'm exercising more regularly, I have to get up early before the kids get up, before their day gets started, because in the evenings between their activities and sports activities, I just don't have time. A lot of times I'm using my evenings pouring into other people's lives, my kids and everyone else, and taking meetings and doing different things. So if I don't get up early in the morning and exercise, then I typically don't have time to exercise that day. And so as I was reading the book, it's like a light bulb went off, and I said, wow, I see what they're talking about as far as this victory hour and taking advantage of this time period when a lot of the right hormones are really going towards developing the brain and everything else. So I'm still in the process of trying to be consistent with this process, but again, it's not about the end result. It is all about the journey. So this book actually took me back to another book that I recently read called Atomic Habits by Adam Grant. And in this book, it talks about how you turn these life-changing habits into a way of life. We all start doing things. Maybe it's a diet plan, or we try to stop smoking, or trying to cut back on alcohol, or try to do these things, exercise program to help ourselves, and then it doesn't stick. Especially in the beginning of the year, we had these resolutions, and they may last a month, may last 2 weeks, but it doesn't stick. So how do you realize those things that you really need to stick in your life, those habits that you really need to stick in your life? And so you can do those things and move forward and really use those things and turn them into everyday habits, to help you and to move forward. So the basis of the 5 a.m. Club is a formula called the 20-20-20 formula. And the first 20 minutes is called Move, where you exercise. And this is just what it is. You want to get up, do something active. It could be jumping jacks. It could be, sit-ups. It could be just something where for 20 minutes you get your blood flowing. You get those right hormones moving and going. Then in the second 20 minutes, it's the reflect time. And by reflect, it could mean journaling. It could mean meditating. It could mean prayer. Anything that after you've exercised and gotten your heart rate going, your blood pumping, You spend some time just reflecting, slowing down, and really thinking about what's important to you and writing that down in a journal and so forth. And then the last 20 minutes is called the grow period. And during the grow period, that's where you can do things like review your goals. You can read, you can do an audiobook, you can listen to a podcast like this one during that time period. You can write out, your most important objectives for the day. So that last 20 minutes is grow. And if you can see through this process, if you can do this every day, you're really investing in yourself. And it's a cycle where now it becomes a habit that continues to grow and perpetuate, and you get better and better at it. And it doesn't have to be 20-20-20. It can be 30-30-30. You make it what you want to make it. But the important thing is taking that time during this victory hour and investing in yourself before you get going with your day, before you get out there and everyone starts to zap your energy and you start using this energy towards everyone else. Using that victory hour, using that beginning of the day to just reinvest in yourself. Sleep is very important. And the book even talks about how during sleep, that's when you refuel and you re-energize. And we'll talk a lot more about sleep, but making sure that you get the adequate amount of sleep every day is vitally important to wake up feeling refreshed, feeling energized, and ready to go about your day. I want to take just a few quotes from the book, a few points from the book, just to expand on them, to further emphasize the points of what I'm saying. Too many times, as I am giving counsel to patients or talking to them about next steps, and a lot of times the best treatment may not be a pill or a treatment. It could just be investing in yourselves and investing in your health. But a lot of times I'm met with resistance. Change is hard. It takes time. And a lot of times people just don't want to put in that time and effort to change. We get comfortable. We let fear, we let rejection, doubt, disappointment, all of these things run our life to the point where we don't feel like we can overcome that mountain. We can't climb that mountain. And these feelings are having a negative impact on our lives. They're having a negative impact on our health. And, the best way to overcome or combat these negative fears is that we have to fill ourselves with positive thoughts, with positive intuitions, and really invest in ourselves first so that we can overcome these things and really start moving things forward and getting on a better path. So in the book, he goes through some maxims, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just point out a few just to kind of highlight the point here and think about how these things, how you can take these things and incorporate them into your own life. So the first one I want to highlight, it says, to create magic in the world, own the magic within yourself. And I love this maxim. I love this quote. And in this section, it says, there's another quote that says, your relationship with you predicts your relationship with the world. It is hard to expect your doctor or someone else to fix you if you don't want to be fixed yourself. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to hear. And that doesn't mean that you will be, completely fixed or completely healed or whatever it is. But we can advise and guide you, but you have to take the initiative to want to invest in yourself, to want to get better. And that's a big thing that we're facing now in healthcare, is that it's the so-called, what is the responsibility of the patient? What is your responsibility in your health condition or whatever it is that we're trying to do? So when you look at if you want to be out there and you want to do great things in the world and you want to help people, but first you have to own the magic within yourself. Like you have to have that mindset that puts your health set and your wealth set and your soul set in alignment to where you want to fix yourself in order to help others. And so I thought this was a really good, introduction into these maxims and an excellent way to really start thinking about how do I reinvest in myself and look in the mirror and say, okay, I want the world to treat me a certain way. I want to have this relationship with the world, but your relationship with you would predict your relationship with the world. So do you love yourself? Do you feel positive about yourself? Because you take that energy out there into the world. So I thought that was a really good point. Another one is failure inflates fearlessness. And so the quote says, courage is an exquisite weapon to defeat the armies of regret that tear away at lives meekly lived. Man, I mean, that part hit me hard as well, because we don't always succeed. And as I look back over my career and different things, there are times in which I came up on a short end, and there were plenty of opportunities where I thought about giving up and giving in. But, it was actually those things that gave me the most strength. And I look back over some of the most difficult times and realize that I learned so much out of those instances of failure. I like reading about some of the most successful business people in history, and a lot of them have failed several times. And, if you want to really advance your health or business and finances, you cannot allow yourself to be paralyzed by fear of failing. Most successful people in business, as I mentioned earlier, have failed along the way, and they give credit to these failures as something that really helped them to achieve great things. And you may not succeed in doing something like losing weight or changing your eating habits the first time, but the key is, what do you do then? I like the saying, that's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And I think it was Muhammad Ali that said that, everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And that's true. But once you take that lick, then how do you react? How do you go dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and say, hey, let's keep trying. Let's do it again. And let's try again and keep going. And if you do that over and over again, when you do hit that milestone or change that diet plan or start seeing that weight come off, then you'll have that reassurance that, man, I can do this and I can move forward. Another one was proper use of your primal power creates your personal utopia. And the key thing here is, or that I took away, was that we cannot become comfortably complacent. And by that I mean, don't become so comfortable in your condition, whether it be a health condition, whether it be a socioeconomic status, where you just say, I'm okay with just getting by. Let's reinvest in yourself and keep pushing forward to a better tomorrow and taking those strides to improve your health, your wealth, your soul set. And if we keep doing that every day, then we have something to keep pushing us forward and keep motivating us to move forward. So the next one is simple but sweet, but avoid bad people. If you're trying to invest in yourself and you're trying to make those changes that you need to do and you need to make, you need to surround yourself with people who want you to succeed. You need to surround yourself with people who want to see that better you and who will help you to promote those habits and those things that you're trying to do to change your life. If you're trying to break a habit that has a negative impact on your health, like smoking or drinking excessively or whatever it is, you may have to separate yourself from those who may not want you to break that habit, because maybe it's a bad habit that they have. It's hard to break those habits. It's hard to do those things when you are constantly in an environment that promotes that. So we have to be very cognizant, and we have to pay attention to our surroundings and those around us, and really say, are they pouring into my life, or are they helping me to pour out of my own life? So really look at your surroundings and the people that you surround yourself with. The next one, money is the fruit of generosity, not scarcity. And I really love this quote, poverty is the consequence of an inner condition, not an outward situation. And I love this quote because if you think about how this impacts our thoughts, how our thoughts impact so many of our actions. It's all about our mindset. And I tell people all the time, poverty or low or socioeconomic status, it may be an outward situation, but a lot of times it's how you're thinking. It's what you're thinking and your mindset. And thinking about Nelson Mandela when he was in prison, I remember an interview, he said, well, he didn't think he was in prison. He didn't let them imprison his mind. He constantly was thinking about being out and what he would do to make society better and work on the things in South Africa that needed to be worked on. So it was his mindset. His situation may have had him in prison, but his mindset was free. And that is when you say poverty is a consequence of an inner condition, not an outer situation, is how are we feeling in our mind? If we feel that it's gloom and doom and I'll never get better and things won't get better and my wealth coming, then that is what you're telling yourself, and the universe and everything will react. We have to believe that we can change our health. We have to believe that we can live in abundant health and wealth. And that positive expectancy, that active faith, that all of that comes together and helps to propel you and change that mindset. And eventually the outward situation will start changing solely on that mindset. And then optimal health maximizes your power to produce magic. And I read this book before even naming this podcast, but this was confirmation, because there's a quote in the book that says, peak health really is true wealth. And to operate at your peak, you need high energy, you need optimal health, you need to be able to really be able to perform and feel well about yourself, so that you can really pour into others. So I hope you were able to take something away from this episode, and just remember that true change starts from within. It starts by investing in yourself, thinking about different ways, whether it be using that victory hour, using the mornings, meditating, exercising, doing these different things to really invest in yourself and taking that positive change towards making a change in your life. And you'll see that others and other things will start falling in line. We have to start investing in ourselves before we can expect others to invest in us. If we start really working towards establishing those positive habits, if we start working and really pouring into ourselves, we'll start feeling and living in more abundant health, more abundant wealth, and a positive well-being. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Health, Your Wealth. Please subscribe to this and other episodes. And if you liked it, please share it with others as well. And tune in for future episodes of Your Health, Your Wealth. We'll see you next time.